The Temple Theater in Saginaw, Michigan is a place where stories are made. Since 1927, through thick and thin, the theater thrives because of its ability to create lasting bonds and enriching experiences as families, friends, and neighbors gather together. During each episode of Theater Stories, we're listening in on how the Temple Theater influenced lives in large and small ways. Thanks for listening. Now on with the show. So today I have Jen Teamy-Karas with me. And Jen, you have a story about the Temple Theater for us.
Yeah, the Temple Theater holds a special place in my family's heart. When my husband Dan and I were looking at getting married, it'll be 10 years this month, we looked all over the state of Michigan. We were living in Florida at the time, but our families were from Michigan. So we looked at a variety of different cities and venues, and Traverse City and Boyne and Bay City on the water and all these different places. But we kept coming back to Saginaw, where my family lives and my hometown is. And we were only in town for a short weekend while wedding planning from living in Florida. And I think it was a Sunday, and we walked by and it was closed. And the Temple Theater manager at the time, John Block, who now is the manager at the Dow Event Center, saw us kind of peeking in the windows. And he said, "Oh, come on in, I'll show you around." And he was in the office doing some paperwork. So he showed us around, and we didn't even look at any other reception venues in Saginaw after that. We just knew that this was the place. So we talked to my parents, and everybody was really excited about planning our wedding at the Temple Theater. And John and all of the staff were so wonderful to work with, and Horizons, who helped with the wedding planning too. And I didn't even know until we started planning our wedding there, but my dad's dad, so my paternal grandfather, worked with his dad, who was a painter, and they painted the original Temple Theater ceiling and did a lot of the gold leafing. And so it was just very sweet and sentimental that we got married in a place that, my grandfather and my great-grandfather had a hand in building many, many years ago, a small hand, but so that was neat. My great-grandpa was Frederick Teamy, and they lived in Berlin, Germany, and came to America with his family. And Alfred was my grandfather, came through Ellis Island from Germany when he was 12 years old. And he had polio at a young age, and so he couldn't use one of his arms, and they almost didn't let him through Ellis Island because he had a disability. So I think they were stuck there for 2 weeks, a short period of time, and then they finally allowed him through because his dad said, "No, my son's at the age of 12, he's a fantastic painter. He will work and earn his way in America." So they let him through, and then they settled in Saginaw, where they had family here. And so they had a painting business, and I was looking up the ages, and my great-grandpa would have been 37, and my grandpa was 16 when the Temple Theater was built. And I was asking my dad, how does he think that they got that job? Because it seems pretty prestigious and a big job for, painters to get. And he said that they did a lot of painting in Gulfside in the homes there, and gold leaf was popular there. And so they had a lot of experience doing the gold leafing in Gulfside homes. So he's guessing that's probably how they got the job at the Temple Theater.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting story. It's always neat to hear about people that have been physically connected with the theater in that way. As you may know, we've had a full restoration of the theater and fresh gold leaf, and restored it to that original condition that likely your family had established when we opened in 1927.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious. Was your wedding your first experience at the Temple Theater, or had you been into the theater before?
No, it was restored in 2002. Is that right?
And that time frame, yeah, 2003.
I'm trying to think. No, my high school graduation wouldn't have been there, but my siblings, they graduated from New Val, and I think their high school graduations were there. So we had been there for their graduations, and then I had been to a few shows there over the years too. And I don't know. We were just kind of driving around downtown Saginaw and didn't really have a plan in place of where to look for a wedding. But when we stopped and John showed us around, we just knew, all right, this is the place. It's beautiful. It has so much character. It's in the heart of Saginaw. And the staff just bent over backwards to make it such a wonderful experience for us. And like I said, John was wonderful too. So yeah. And then to hear the history and the ties that my family had beyond it was so fun. So it made it really sentimental and beautiful.
Tell me one of the more memorable moments at your wedding at the Temple Theater. Do you have one of those that you can share with us?
Something we did that a lot of people commented on that Horizons and the Temple Theater staff helped is that, knowing that my grandpa and great-grandpa painted the ceiling, we wanted to bring in a little bit of history to the wedding. And so we had my mother's and my mother-in-law's wedding dresses. They both had them. And my grandmother's wedding dress was made out of parachute material because it was during the war. And so she still had that. And we had all three of the dresses on display. And it was kind of a neat, and then there are old wedding pictures up and old wedding photos of our families up. So we received a lot of comments on that, how it was neat to have that historical side of it brought in too. But the wedding ceremony was at the Anderson Enrichment Center. So then just the reception was at the Temple Theater, but we had a blast. We danced all night and had a live band, and everybody commented. We had, I think, people come in from 6 or 10 different states. I mean, we had friends flying from California, Florida, New York, all over the country, and flew into the Temple Theater at Saginaw. So many people commented that it was just a beautiful and unique place to have a wedding. So we had a blast.
Yeah. One of the wonderful things about the theater is sort of the way that it's able to bring people together, whether that's for a performance in the community or a wedding, a family coming together. That's what we're about. And it sounds like there was success in our mission there.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the few times that the side of my family had all been together at once, because we're so big that we've been scattered. And it was just really special to see all of our friends from across the country connect and our family to be under one roof. And then Dan and I snuck off with our photographer into the theater portion of it and took a lot of really cool pictures with the Temple Theater ceiling in the background. So yeah, it was the perfect venue. And since then, we've been there for so many fundraisers and occasions and events, and got to see Bryan Adams live there. And it's just says a lot about the venue that it can host a famous international rock star as wonderfully as it can a family wedding and a fundraiser and all these different events. It's such a versatile location.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jen, I really appreciate you sharing your story with our community here, and congratulations on the 10-year anniversary. We'll have the marquee up and ready for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Theater Stories from the Temple Theater in Saginaw, Michigan. If you have a story you would like to share with our community, please reach out. We look forward to hearing more stories and making new ones.